If you love rustic living, then Bushradical might be one of your favorite YouTube channels. Dave Whipple is the man behind this popular channel. His story is quite interesting. In this video, I'll tell you how Dave got inspired to the off-grid lifestyle, how he started building off-grid cabins, and how the Alone reality show inspired him to start Bushradical. So, now let's start from the beginning. David Whipple was born on February 8, 1976 in the U.S. He grew up amongst Amish in the middle of lower rural Michigan. Dave has a younger brother, Ryan Whipple, and a sister. Ryan, too, is into outdoors and cabin building and shares his projects on his YouTube channel, Black Spruce. Dave's grandfather built his own house, a small cabin backed by a creek. This exerted a great influence on the young Dave. Later, Dave read Ben East's survival and danger books, which cemented his love for outdoors and survival. Steve Smith, of the popular outdoor comedy show The Red Green Show, is one of his heroes. Dave loves this show. Ben East, an outdoor writer for Outdoor Life, is one of Dave's favorite writers. After barely graduating from the Morley Stanwood High School in Michigan in 1994, Dave started pouring concrete, and as he loved playing guitar and singing in his rock band, the Atomic Honkies, he played in this band for a couple years. After Brooke graduated from college in 1998, she got an internship in Wisconsin. They got engaged in that year, and she went to Wisconsin for the internship, whereas Dave drove his 1984 F-150 to Seattle, and his plan was to either go fishing at the Dutch Harbor or driving up to Alaska and work on one of the military bases there, pouring concrete. He chose the latter and worked all summer there, and later, he came back to Wisconsin and worked there all year. In the summer of 1999, Dave and Brooke returned to Alaska as they got an opportunity in Sitka. They spent the summer there. He poured the concrete, whereas she worked for the Thea Broma Chocolate Company in Sitka. At the time, they also worked as the caretakers at the Stargaven campground in Sitka, and every evening, they used to fly fish pink salmons and smoke them. After this, they went to the Attributions, where they lived completely off-grid. That was Dave's first experience being fully off-grid. In 1999, they were living on the only house on the peninsula, and for the 7.5 months, from September to May, they were the remote caretakers of that remote homestead. After working on Attributions, Dave and Brooke went to Fairbanks, and then, in 2000, they met Neil Eklund, who at that time was operating a 40 by 70-foot log raft on the Yukon River. They got an opportunity to work on that raft. In the 2001 summer, Dave and Brooke bought 2 acres of permafrost to the north of Fairbanks, about 10 miles for cheap, for $6,500. Their idea was to buy a cheap piece of land and build a cabin with the material on the land, and just put in the work so that they can own a cabin in a couple of months. They preferred this over buying a 3-bedroom house equipped with well, septic, washer, dryer, and a color TV, as at the point of time, they didn't have the job stability and credit. There were around 70 logs on the property, which were seasoned for 2 years. They worked on building the cabin for 3 months during the summer. They peeled all those logs and stacked them up in a Hudson Bay-style cabin. It costed them $3,200 to build a 12 feet by 12 feet cabin, and during construction, they lived in an 8 feet by 8 feet tent. The cabin had power supply, which made it partially off-grid, not fully off-grid. Building this cabin taught Dave a lot of skills, made him confident, and he developed a positive perspective on living off the grid. At the time, Dave was working as a cement finisher in Fairbanks, whereas she was working as a recreation director at Chena Hot Springs Resort in Fairbanks. They lived in the cabin for 2.5 years, and later, they purchased many properties and built cabins on them. They bought an 80-acre remote wilderness property near Lake Superior. In 2021 and in 2023, they bought an abandoned off-grid cabin near their property. Dave has been able to afford the off-the-grid lifestyle, thanks to him being frugal since the beginning. He never had a car payment, and he buys only used vehicles which he could fix himself. Dave builds his cabins with only the money out of his pocket, without any bank financing. Thanks to this, he stays free from mortgages. He sells his cabins in cash sales. All these help Dave to stay debt-free, and his multiple streams of income greatly help him live off the grid. Dave and Brooke moved from Alaska to Michigan in 2012, and later, they signed up for the Alone show, and in 2016, they participated in the Alone Season 4 on History Television Network. They competed in Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada, and lasted for 49 days but couldn't win. Thanks to being in Alone, Dave learned operating a camera, and after returning from the show, He started his YouTube channel. He also learned from his wife, Brooke, and her outdoor YouTube channel, Girl in the Woods. Dave started his YouTube channel, Bushradical, on January 27, 2017. The success of Sean James's My Self-Reliance Off-Grid Cabin Lifestyle YouTube channel inspired him to start Bushradical. Dave had a huge collection of off-grid lifestyle video clips. He plugged these clips into his YouTube videos, and he also started showcasing his new cabins. Thanks to off-grid being a popular niche on YouTube, his channel became successful, and currently, Dave has 1.1 million subscribers and earns from ads. He films with a Canon Vixia HF G20 camera and edits his videos with iMovie on his MacBook Pro. He also has a GoPro. Dave also has another YouTube channel, Dave Whipple, where he gives YouTube advice. Previously, Dave used to work on his guitar YouTube channel, Whip's Cheap Guitars. A band name generator suggested the name Bushradical to him, and this name seemed apt for his channel, as it focuses on him living on the fringe of society and being a nonconformist and living an off-grid lifestyle. For more than 2 decades, Dave has been living a very rustic, free life and showcasing this on his channel, and has been inspiring people to give up the rat race for more freedom in their lives. They lived in dry cabins in Alaska for a decade. Those cabins were devoid of indoor plumbing and running water. Also, they used to cut their own firewood. The bush part of the Bushradical doesn't refer to bushcraft, but rather to being close to wilderness, which has been a part of Dave's life, whereas the radical part refers him to being a fringer. He prefers living in a 12 by 12 cabin rather than having a $250,000 mortgage and being burdened with the daily grind. Since graduating from the high school, Dave poured concrete for many years. He was a concrete tradesman, specifically a cement finisher. Dave also worked as a cement contractor and did foundations and slabs and built and sold many houses and cabins and also flipped musical instruments. Dave started a concrete construction business in Fairbanks and constructed driveways and a lot of monolithic foundations and flat work. For 6 years, he was a cement contractor in Fairbanks. He also built a spec house and built a house on his property in Delta. Dave worked at National Geographic from 2014 to 2015 and from 2016 to 2017. He worked at History Television Network on the Alone series. Dave made and sold regular and Ulu knives on eBay. He is also a motivational speaker. In 1995, Dave was in the Lewis County Road Commission Band, and they were playing an open mic night at the Shaman's Bluff Coffee Shop in Big Rapids, Michigan. Brooke was working at the shop, selling coffee. At the time, she was attending the university. They met at the Ferris State University. At the time, she was also the lead singer of the dive rock band. They fell in love and got married on October 12, 1998 on a beach in Jamaica. This couple has a son, Mickey, and a daughter, Belle. They too are into the outdoors. Dave loves riding motorcycles and traveling. He traveled extensively in Alaska. He also lived there for 6 years. He also traveled to Canada. Even though Dave's main focus is YouTube, he does a little bit of concrete work each year just to remind himself of how blessed he is to not have to do the concrete work full-time. Currently, Dave isn't living off-grid, but in an old farmhouse in northern Lower Michigan. He is tall at 6'2". Dave developed severe stomach pain, lost 40 pounds, and got hospitalized in 2006 at 30 and was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. But in 2008, a CT scan revealed that he was suffering from scar tissue bowel obstruction, and eventually, he lost a lot of weight. In 2010, a surgery was performed upon Dave in Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, and this fixed his condition, and he recovered. So, how are you inspired by Dave Whipple's story? Please comment below. If you are into reading, I've also written his story on my website. Find the link in this video's description. For more success stories of your favorite YouTubers, please subscribe to my channel.